a couple of things. One, the UK transport sector can't get out of its own way. Two, Dublin, thanks to our very deep connectivity into the UK, is a great place if you need to go to North America. In fact, this summer, I think Heathrow and Gatwick have 7 or 8 internal flights. If you want to fly within the UK from Dublin, I think you can go to 25 UK cities. We're now the number 5 gateway to North America. What's much more important with respect to the UK is what David touched on earlier. 42% of our tourist numbers are coming in from the UK. That's falling, as Kenny mentioned, like a stone, down 7% so far this year. That whilst Ryanair and Dublin Airport are both up net, and I absolutely applaud the decision to expand in Germany, which will require money and marketing now. Equally, we need more money in marketing to defend our UK tourist numbers and keep driving people into the UK. And I'm pleased to say that the DEA is doing its bit to address the capacity shortfall. We're building what will be the 4th largest hotel in the country at Dublin Airport, which will be open hopefully in the course of the next 18 months. So I think really the UK story for me is they're acting now rather than in 3 or 4 years' time, looking back and saying, why did we not do something when we saw this falling like a stone? And equally recognising the reality that with Ryanair investing in Germany, that's also going to require heavy investment in increased money for Tourism Ireland that's very targeted to drive more and more tourists into Ireland. I saw the Taoiseach was going to visit the Canadian border last weekend, and I said, what he's going to find there is this ain't a soft border, and that's exactly what he saw. So I think where I sit, there are 4 big things in Brexit. Some things you can control or have some impact on, and some you can't. One you obviously can't have any impact on is the performance of the UK economy and the Irish economy. But then you get down to open skies, and if you look at, since 1995, what David touched on earlier and Kenny, there's been a 5-fold increase in route access across Europe since open skies came in. There's a 10-fold increase in competing route access where you have more than one carrier on a route, and there's a similar chart of airfares coming down over that time period. So that's been the key catalyst that we can't lose any sight of, that's enabled and allowed development. The second thing is what is the border system that's put in place, and that does have the capacity, if it's a hard border, to create complication, delays, unnecessary infrastructure, bad passenger experience. And then the third thing, I think the one fundamentally for me is, we rely on aviation, airports, airlines and tourism for a key piece of the economic activity in this country. So we need to look at Brexit and say, how do we get ahead, defend the UK, go after new markets, and recognise that the UK with weaker sterling will also be a key competitor with Ireland for tourists. The Lake District, Cornwall, Devon, Scotland are competing against Dublin and the rest of Ireland for tourists. So we've got to be very quick, and they're spending more money, they're increasing their resources, they're trying to provide more air access, so I think we will get well ahead of them on that. So I think it's a big issue, and it's underlying uncertainty, and there's a lot of opportunities though within that, and we need to get the opportunities, whether that's the European Medical Agency to locate into Dublin Airport, whether it's getting more of the banks in. So we need to build on our strengths and move quickly and move now.
And there's an increasing
basic contingency planning and part of the airport.
Continually, yes, we always are.
Yeah. You've actually done something.
Yeah, and we're very active, and we're very active in Europe, and we're very active with the Commission, and we're very active with the trade associations, and we're very aligned with Ryanair, indeed, in articulating the concerns around uncertainty and how that may play out, and where we need the government and the EU to act now. And what a lot of people don't appreciate is the UK, of course, is the most exposed to the EU after Brexit. 53% of their air travel is to and from the rest of the EU. After that, it's Poland to Ireland comes next, with 39% of our travel in and out of the UK, which would be impacted by the circumstances around open skies that I described. And then you negotiate with the French and the Germans, who are around 6 or 7% of their travel. So if they're sitting looking across a table, it's far less of an issue for them that there's a good outcome and a timely outcome. In fact, you could conjecture that a bad outcome is a good outcome for them. They're much less concerned about how the UK operates.
Lufthansa and Air France do not want anything other than chaos in 2019, because it affects their competitors significantly more than them. But I was going to add to the challenges to Dublin Airport to the south is that there's a dawning appreciation in Northern Ireland about their reliance on air travel. I mean, whatever about, at least London is connected by a tunnel to Europe and beyond. In the case of Northern Ireland, there is a dawning appreciation that their air passenger duty is a burden that is dragging heavily on them. That's about the equivalent of €15 per passenger, which is about 75% of the Dublin airport charge. Were that removed, it does create a competitive challenge among other competitive challenges to Dublin Airport. So there are many things in the mix, and I think I would be surprised if Northern Ireland retains its air passenger duty beyond the end of next year.
But look, on Brexit, in some ways, the Irish government are thinking more about certain aspects of Brexit more than the UK government are. And look, a version of Brexit is definitely going to happen. It's probably going to take longer than the 2 years. I think everyone would kind of say that's what everyone thinks. But the one thing Ireland can do better than other countries in Europe is just move quickly, because we're able to move quickly. We're generally more entrepreneurial, and you can change things in Ireland quicker than you can change things in France and Germany. But it's going to come down to accommodation, it's going to come down to tax, corporate tax and personal tax. It's going to come down to accessibility, which is the airport. It's going to come down to things like schools, and then targeting certain institutions which have to leave the UK, and targeting certain banks and other big corporates to say, come to Dublin, and not just Dublin. There should also be a plan, which is how do you get some of them to relocate to other parts of Ireland. But the one thing we should just do is move very, very quickly. And if the second runway is there in 2021, and if we do have all of these various building blocks lining up over the next 5 years, that's the best way to plan it, but at greater speed than the French are, than the Germans are, etc., etc. Okay. Great, thanks very much.